Hey everybody, welcome to It's a Metal Thing. Today I'm going to build a intercooler for my 1961 Ford Falcon Gasser. Let's do it. This is my new CSF intercooler core. It's a vertical flow, 27 inches long, 6 inches high, 4.5 inches deep. This particular core will support 1100 horse. It's a little too big for what I need. It's too long, so it's 27. I need to get it down to around 24, the distance between my shackles, which seems weird, right? But also you'll learn all that later. So the smaller one, they make a 24 by 6 by 3 that would fit in there, but it only supports 800 horse. I don't want this to be a limiting factor as far as my horsepower. I'm not sure how much horsepower I'm going to need to run a 9-second, but I don't want this to be an issue. So I went with this 27 by 4, so I have an extra inch of depth. I'm going to take, 3 inches off the end, and I figure that'll put me around 950 capable for this. I think that'll be enough. So I got to figure out how to cut this down 3 inches. And I'm going to work on that now, and then I'll get it up here in the front and kind of give you an idea of what the plan is for this thing. So I'll do that next. Okay, got it mocked up. Going to be pretty tricky tight. Going to be a lot of finagling. So from the back side of this brace here, which is about as narrow as I can go, I cut it back in an earlier episode to make room for this thing. It was a big cross member that actually came out and went down. So I eliminated as much out of here as I could. So from the back of this to the back, or from the front of this to the back of this valance, I'm about 3 3/8. This is 4.5. So the plan has always been kind of, let me fix this. The plan has always been kind of to make this thing more bulbous. So it's so hammered and jacked up that I don't feel bad about cutting into it and doing what I want to do. So you can see how this little opening opens up a little bit. So kind of that, almost that same thing, but this whole bottom's going to drop down and come back up, and it's going to angle out. So from right around here somewhere, I'm going to angle it out. So it'll come out a little bit. I'm going to have it come out a little bit too, because this needs to be out. So it might come out maybe 2 inches and down 2 inches, which I hope isn't too much if I make it gradual. I think it'll be all right. It'll be kind of crazy, but you know, this is a crazy situation. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to slice this up. I'm going to just cut a straight line here, probably about halfway through this thing, the depth here, so that I can take a piece of sheet metal in there and clamp it and have a big enough surface to clamp both of them together so that I can like move this out as far as I need to, just to kind of get an idea of what I'm going to do. So probably what I'm going to do is I'll cut this up here, cut this here. This is already broken. Cut that there. And like I said, then I'll put a slice through here and just take that piece out. That way I can move it in and out and manipulate it and see what I got to do. So do that next. All right, too big. 4.5, this ain't going to work. Trying to make this transition from here to out to here, or even coming back farther and making it out there, I think it's just going to be too much. I mean, things freaky, but that's too freaky. That's freaky beyond looking all right. So I went with this. This is the 3.5 inch. The 3.5 inch is limited by the amount of horsepower. Like I said earlier, it's 800 rated horsepower. And so I don't know if I can get this thing going down the track with my fat ass in it in the 9s. With that kind of horsepower, I'm assuming it's crank horsepower, so it'll be marginal, I think. Just, you know, doing calculations off the internet, so who knows. So I'm going to put the 3.5 in. I'm going to build the valance for it. I'm going to have it run it that way. If it has an issue getting in the 9s, and I think that's part of the issue, then I will go ahead and take this off, take the valance off, build that intercooler, put it on, run the 9s, and then switch it all back. At least that's the plan. So let's do it. Bought these 3-inch 90s back when I had the 4.5 inch intercooler core. I bought these because they had the longest leg on them. I was trying to make it so I could cut these and make the transition on the top from the square shape to the round shape. I'm going to add to the bottom. I drew a line on here. You can't really see it. So the plan is to slice this like this and have this be in the center and have it transition. I'm going to put it on this piece of angle iron here, describe a line on the back side. Make some cuts in here. Basically just have half of this tube with this little curved transition for the center part to come up. So I'm going to draw some lines on here and cut this and kind of see where I'm at. That's the plan anyway. All right, so this plan didn't work. I don't normally do this, but it was just too much video segment going on just to show you where I screwed up. So this is the 3-inch wide. They're too short. They're way too narrow. I thought I could make a transition. I want to put a little step in it to get around the valance. So I'd made this little piece of aluminum transition from round to square, and you can see it's too short. It's too narrow. So I went ahead and bit the bullet. I bought some 3.5-inch. They were longer. They were the proper width, and it just ended up being better. So we're going to pick up the video back at me showing the 3.5-inch and going from there. All right, 3.5 on 3.5. It looks better. It doesn't have that weird step in it. Be plenty of flow out of here. Eventually I'll cap these off and cut this off and get that reduced down to, I showed these, but I bought some 3.5 to 2.5 reducers that I'll stick on the end here. So I'm going to put it in the car. I'm going to kind of figure out where it's going to go and see what the next move is on that valance. So I need to make a mounting tab. I'm going to, like I said, put a piece of 1/4 inch over here, drill a tap, and then just cut it, come up at an angle to go up into here. So I was just going to run a piece of flat bar on there and just kind of weld on both sides. I'm concerned that it won't have enough distribution of mounting surface to be strong enough. I don't know, this 1/8 inch will hold up to just a single weld on either side of a piece of 1/4 inch, so I need angle iron, but I don't have any angle iron. So what I do have though is I have this quarter wall, I don't know what this is, 4x2 or whatever. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this and cut this. So the length of that piece is gonna be 7 3/4. I need 3 1/4 depth on there, and this return will be enough surface for me to weld around and be better for supporting the intercooler. So I'm just gonna take this and cut it and make 2 pieces of angle iron. The good thing with making angle iron out of tubing is the inside, there's no radius on there. I mean, it's probably not as strong, but I don't need that big radius in there. If you're gonna try to butt it up like a tight edge, if you try to do something like that, just in the future reference, if you need some aluminum and you need angle iron that has a clean edge on the inside, cut up some tubing. I'm gonna cut this up. Intercooler mount, was centered up, it's not now. This is the angle iron I made out of that rectangle tubing. The overall height of this is from the bottom of this tube to the top of this side plate here. That's that distance. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this. Oh, another reason I use this angle iron is to have a little surface area to weld to this piece of 1/8 inch plate that's down here. So just to give it more strength. So I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna hold it up here, get it all lined up. I'm gonna scribe around this tube as much as I can on the backside here with this ink that I put, or yeah, it's a magic marker. That way I can, I'll get another section of the short section of the tube. I'll put it on here and just scribe around here, get a nice line. That way I can make a good template or a good piece of metal that's gonna be and match this. I'll drill and tap that, get it all squared away, and then I'll bring it back here, hold it in place, make sure everything's cool, and then I'll tack weld the metal on. And then it'll be about trimming this, making it more sexy with the angles and stuff that I want. And then tacking that on, make sure I got some distance. All that stuff's coming, but bracket coming your way. Intercooler where I think it's gonna go. Moving it around, up and down, figuring. Just trying to figure out what's gonna work the best. Huge compromise up here. Man, if I would have known about it, I probably would have went with a water intercooler, but it is what it is. So, space the grill out 3/4 of an inch. I ground on the grill, the bottom lip of the grill. You can see the gap that I made, so it fits tight in there. I gonna have to do something with the bezels. Obviously, I'm gonna bring those out as well. I might have to move the lights out. I'm not really sure. So I think the grill will be all right as far as the hood goes. The valance is a whole nother situation. So I did go ahead and I marked these up with magic marker, held it up in place against the intercooler, making sure there was even space on either side, centered it up, and I did a vertical line and a horizontal line just to get reference so that I could take this put it on here, traced it. Then I made 2 end plates, drilled a 5/16 hole through both of them. So the hole's in the exact same spot. Tap this out to 3/8, open this up to 3/8. So now that'll bolt on and off there. So what we do now, so I'm going to make sure the frame is level. I mean, I could just do with measurements, but I'm gonna make sure the frame's level so it'll be easier. Then hold each end plate up, make sure it's centered, and tack it. Tack the end cap to the rail. And then that'll let me know where I'm at as far as height and stuff. I need to obviously space it off a little bit off the back, give myself a little bit of a gap for vibration. I think I have room back there now, so I'm good on that. So yeah, going to level it up, tack it up, see where we're at. All tacked up. Pretty happy. I sexified the brackets there a little bit. So now I'm going to go ahead and get the front fenders bolted on where they go. Bunch of 1/4 inch bolts. I'm gonna bolt on the end pieces and kind of see where I'm at, if this is even gonna work. So I'm the type of guy that if I don't like it, I'll take it apart and redo it, change it up. So I'm hoping this works out. You never really know till the end, but we're gonna move forward and hopefully it turns out acceptable to me. So I'm gonna do that next. All right, now that the valance is figured out, I need to get this up higher. I don't wanna raise this thing up anymore. It's gonna be where it's gonna be. I think it's a good compromise for airflow, and it lands right behind the valance. The issue I'm having now is where the bottom bolt for the grill is gonna hit. So I'm going to rock this up. I just came back a 1/2 inch, took a piece of poster board, used the straight edge, went from corner to corner up to the 1/2 inch. We'll just make a straight cut through here. That'll move this up and angle it up some more so I can clear the bolt for the grill. And then I'll turn it in, it'll end up in the fender well. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut these off, tack these on, bolt it back up, and see where I'm at. All right, so I didn't grind this or cut this anymore. I just ground the top of this a little bit, took like an 1/8 inch off, so that brought me up. I have clearance here. This is gonna be 3 1/4. This ends up being 2 3/4. So I measured, I just put the circle on here just to see, you can see it's off, but I centered it up. So I'm getting ready to drill this hole, 3 3/4. Should give me room to the headlight bucket, but I'm not worried about it because the headlight bucket can overhang a little bit. I just need to be able to get that thing in and out. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut this, and then I'm gonna slice to here, and I'm gonna go do a straight slice through here, and then I'm gonna put a radius on this side just to make it look better. It'll look better with a radius on that edge. So yeah, hack it up. Hole is cut. You can't really tell because it's painted black, but I went the larger hole here for the V-band. It's still pretty tight. I'll probably have to open it up a little bit. It does go in and out, but it's right there. So then I cut these out. There was this material came around and met the inner fender well. There was a pinch weld here. Cut all that out. I radiused this edge here to match a piece of tube that I had. This is the next size up. This is 3 inch. This is 3 inch OD. This is 2 3/4. So I'm happy with the notch. I'm not gonna completely nail it down. When I get this notch all finished out and I have the gap, I'll probably put a piece of sheet metal in here to fill this in and grind it smooth so it looks better. The issue I have now is this isn't big enough. This isn't long enough. If I put this in here and I have it run so the V-band can go through that hole, I'm short by about 1 inch or 2. I don't want to put a joint in there. I ordered another V-band or another tube, 90 from Vibrant. It's longer, it has an 18 inch leg on it, so I can get away with just having one piece. The reason I'm putting the V-band clamp inside here as opposed to right here is I don't want to have like 3 V-band clamps in this whole situation. So I think I can get away with run from the intake through the fender well and down to here with a 1 V-band. So there'll just be 1 V-band on this whole situation other than what's happening up here. That's the goal anyway. So I need to be able to, when I remove this thing, it needs to be able to come straight out as a unit. So that's why everything is kind of the way it is. So it all kind of comes out as 1 unit. Also 2, when I do the bottom tank here, this V-band is going to have to be inside the shackles and the frame rail, obviously. So So I can't go too far out here. I can't come out here with it. It's got to be inside here. So since I'm waiting on that 90, I'm going to go ahead and start on the bottom tank. I'm going to get a couple of these mocked up in place where they need to be, as far as up and down and front to back and in far enough so that once it's all done, I can take this off as a unit. So I'm going to figure out a way to kind of locate where all this stuff's going to go. And then I'm going to work on this bottom tank. That's next. These are the original 3-inch pieces of 90 that I'd cut up for the top tank on the intercooler. I didn't like the way it was working out. That's when I bought the 3.5. The intercooler itself is 3.5 inches thick, as you guys know. So I can use these for the bottom because the transition from, which actually is 3.25 because I spread these out, 3.25 to 3.5 won't be that big of a deal over this long run. And honestly, aesthetically, you'll never see it. So the good thing, well, the reason I'm liking these is they're shorter, right? The length is shorter, which is no big deal, but it'll keep me inside my, my frame rails. So what I need to do is I need to go ahead and make another one of these basically transitions from the tube to the flat surface here. I'll be able to tack that all together. And then what I can do is I'll be able to like weld a piece of flat bar on there or something that I can clamp to the frame rail or somewhere on there to mock up exactly where that needs to land. And that'll make it easier for me to just roll a piece of material from the front, transition it down, and get it to the bottom. It should be just an easy move to be able to make a piece that goes in there. Tack that all together, pull that off. I'll be able to put some end caps on it, and then the intercooler will be really close. So I'm gonna go ahead and make that top basically manifold part and get it clamped into place. Okay, so I have clearance on the edges here. Right, this half of this V-band's coming, so this will be able to slide straight out when I go to make this whole thing come out. There's a little bit of a gap here, but not enough. This cross member is going to impede my airflow, so I'm going to hole saw 5 or 6 holes through there to get some flow through there. I was thinking this might come down a little more and allow me to have some air going between the manifold and the intercooler and just squeezed out through here, but I need to get it up tight enough to accommodate this spring here. So I think I have plenty of room. I got a 1/4 inch from the top. This isn't going to move. The shackle mount is not going to move. So this will come right through here, and I think I'll have plenty of room for the spring to move around. So I'm happy with where that's at. I'm just going to have to address the airflow situation through the cross member. The sway bar goes through there. So when it's all apart and I'm getting ready to like do final assembly or just take it apart somewhere along the way, final weld or whatever, I'll go ahead and just figure out how many hole saws I could put in there. I'm not super worried about the strength of the chassis. It's going to be a full cage, 10-point cage. I don't think there'll be any twisting issues, especially since it's all unibody and it seems completely tied together. It's going to be a freaking tank. So now I just need to transition from here to this, to the back, and then once that's all tacked in, then I can do the front. And then it's a matter of filling in, so you can see that the outside of my intercooler. So we have to do a transition in somehow. We'll figure it out. That's next. Houston, we have a problem. So I just double checked on the travel. Typically this, would go back or forward more as it went through the travel, but this thing, I want it to run in the 9s. It's gonna have some horsepower. It might pull a wheelie, I don't know, but I wanna be able to deal with that if it's a situation. So there's other options where to run the piping, but I have to get concerned about the roll bar coming down and mounting in the front. I got a radiator hose on the other side, blah, 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 blah. So this is the best place. So I just need to make this happen. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna move the shackle to the back. So when I first started building this front end, I really didn't know as much as I know now as you go through the process. Ideally, you want the shackle to be on the other side of the steering. This is front steer, so the shackle should be in the back. It's just a greater distance from here to here. It eliminates some of the bump steer. You're gonna get bump steer no matter what, but this helps alleviate some of it. So 2 birds with 1 stone. It's obviously supposed to be this way, so that's how it's working out. So I need to just take it all apart, flip things around. I don't know if I'm gonna have enough room between the rear bracket and the spring and for the thing to go. I'll know that better when I get in there. If I have to, I'll either build a new bracket with a lower hole, like maybe give myself a 1/2 inch more. The weight of the car, over time, these springs are custom made. They're not quite done yet. I can still adjust that later, but obviously it's gone down some. So if I need to make that 1/2 inch taller, it's not gonna kill me. It'll help the situation a little bit in the end. So now I'm gonna take the springs off, flip them around, and see where we're at. Shackle in the back, not quite right. It needs way more angle than that, but anyway. So I switched it around, and it wasn't high enough. This distance here wasn't good enough. The original bracket was down 1.5 inches, or no, yeah, 1.5 inches. So I came down 2.5. I added 1 inch, made this little temporary bracket here. Gonna try to build a better one out of 1/4 inch and more sturdy, but I'm not exactly sure. I still have plenty of room here now, so I'm gonna go ahead and get the intercooler figured out, and then I'll stick a tube off there and kind of get an idea of how much I can bring this up. I don't know if I can or not, but this is max, so I don't want to go much higher than that. So I'm gonna do that next. All right, well, that was quite the ordeal. Got this where it goes, got it mounted, got it tacked in, clamped and everything. The distance is good side to side. I'm happy with the clearance for the tube here. I'm gonna try to shorten those shackles later when it's all said and done, just kind of see what I got. So I've been running, I'm gonna run, and I have tubes for, like all these tubes up here that are gonna go up to the intake are 2 3/4 OD. My turbo is 2 1/4 ID, so 2.5 basically. Tube will be good. So when I do the 2 3/4, it kind of just sticks a little proud of this edge on these V bands. It can still weld, it'll still be nice. The 2.5 fits just inside on this little shoulder. So I'm probably gonna do just from the turbo, just a little section here. I'm gonna run 2.5. That'll give me a little extra clearance, and then I can fine tune the height with the real spring perchers that I make. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna get the intercooler, gonna mount it on, and then start making those transitions and tying those two pieces together. Do it. I got this piece of 24-inch wide, 1/8 inch aluminum scrap that I had. I went ahead and put it in the roll just to see where I was kind of at. And then I had this flat piece bent into it. So there's a flat section anyway. When you roll, there's a distance between the two rolls. It makes a little flat section. So I just put a bend in there so I have a nice straight edge on the front. And then this will wrap around. So now what I need to do is I need to make the bottom narrower. I came in, I measured, came in a little bit. So I'm going to draw a line from the beginning of this flat here down to here and taper both of those down. And that should be pretty close to going in there. I also annealed this piece. It was a little narrow. I thought it would work, but it's just too narrow. There's going to be too big of a differential between the back piece. This works good on the back, but not on the intercooler. So I'm going to have to anneal another piece and bend it like that to make the inside piece of the back piece. So I'm going to go ahead and trim this up. I'm going to hold it up in there, figure out where I'm at. I think this will go pretty easily, and then redo one of those. All right, so I was going to tack this piece to this piece, and I actually did. See tacks there. Got all floppy and wavy and bendy and all kinds of crap. So that wasn't going to work. So I got the intercooler out, tacked this on here. I'm going to get it up underneath there and check the angle. I mean, the V-band clamps fell off. It's just a shit show. So this will be more sturdy. This will keep it straighter. Get it back on here, bend it around, get the angle that I need, and come and put a good weld on here so that it's not going to move, and then all the rest of the stuff will happen, hopefully. But yeah, it's just part of it. Okay, quite the contraption. It stayed straighter this time. I'm happy with it. I'm going to go ahead and tack the V-bands, clamps back on there, and then get up underneath there and check for clearance and everything, make sure everything's good. If it's good, I'll pull it out and then fit the front piece. It shouldn't move around too much. Just try to get it to move around too much. Get that front piece on there, double check everything, and then I'll put the sides on, which are going to be tricky. It's going to be, man, this thing's kicking my ass. Anyway, I always win. I always win in the end. So that's next. Happy with where it is. So it's going to be a lot easier to fit that on the bench. I think I'm going to be good there. I'm going to go ahead and fit that piece on, tack it together, put it back in one more time before I final weld, double check. So I'm going to do that next. Like that. Kind of goofy, but it is what it is. Kind of limited on my space. I need a frontal area for the AC condenser. So I think this is just going to be the best compromise way around. So yeah, it fits good. I'm going to have to massage these edges a little bit. I think I'm going to have to bring this flat back farther just so I have this area for the V-band clamp to go. So I'll bring this back maybe to here or whatever and then taper it down. Lines up good down here. Got a good gap here. No gap really, got a good fit here. So yeah, just pecking away at it. So I'm gonna tack it on there, work on these ends a little bit, and put it back up underneath there and see where we're at as far as the V-band weld-on ends go. So that's next. All right, happy with the shape. Gonna nail it there. Pretty good. Now I'm going to work on the end caps, which would be fun. Got a little bit of flat, got a little bit of curve, got a little flat. This is more radius than that. So good times. Do that next. One done. Kind of tricky. I wanted to get this inside a little bit. I didn't want to have it on the face here. Gonna add, basically a 1/4 inch to the overall width. I was worried it'd be too wide. So up here, I'm gonna get it in a little bit farther. I don't mind so much down here. Probably want to line it up down here. So it would be like a step down here and in up here. So this took a while. I annealed a couple pieces of aluminum and got it soft, beat it around, put it in there, push it in there, bend it around there. Anyway, so now that this is done, I'll just take some masking tape and I'll tape a template on here, and that'll get me close. A lot of grinding and fitting on here. I don't anticipate them being exactly the same, but they'll be close enough for me to fit. The second one should go a lot faster. So I'll probably tack them in. I'll get it up underneath the car, and then I'll hold the V-band up there, figure out where it needs to be, and then hole saw those, and then weld it up. So that's next. Both ends fit, tapped into place, under tension. I'm gonna tack them in. I'm 99.9% sure as soon as I put the heat, this thing's gonna pop out. So I'm just gonna hope for the best. I'm gonna start down here probably and just get that, and then I can move it back and forth if I need to. So get this thing tacked up and then put it in and see where we're at as far as the V-band placement. All right, got the V-band portion tacked on. I was thinking I was gonna grind on this a little bit to get it flat and square, but it was too far out. This is pretty organic how it came in. I had to really work to get this flattened out. So I'm happy with it now. It's tacked in. It's level with the core, which should be level with this, which should be level with the car, hopefully. So let's flip it around and do the other side. Okay, in, happy, tacked together. Now back to this situation here. I got a longer tube. I just need to measure. So I'm just gonna hold this up in here. It's right at the exact size. I'm gonna oversize it later and just measure from that tube over to this tube. Cut these and tack them on. I gotta cut this other side over here. Get a hole saw out, figure out where it needs to be. I'm gonna make it basically like this over here. And then cut and tack those on. And that should be pretty much it. Kind of like that. Got me some bull horns going on, man. So I needed these to be longer because like I said earlier in the video that I want to be able to come straight up and go into the engine compartment. I'm afraid if I tucked it in tight, I'd have to come back and try to do a tight 90, which would be like a bunch of really tight pie cuts. So I'm trying to avoid that. So I think I can come straight up. I'm worried about the air cleaner a little bit, but I'm gonna cut this as soon as I can, just right on the flat here, and start to transition. I got these shorter 90s that I bought from a different manufacturer. They're tighter bend a little bit. So same thing, I'll just cut it right at the straight part. And I think I could just get it, right where it needs to be. So and then I can 90 into here and go in and get the intake. I'm gonna run Holley low-rise manifold with the GT500 oval throttle body on there. So I'm coming in from both sides and I'll be able to Y into the front there. At least that's the plan. But that's gonna be a ways off. I'm gonna get this thing running before I do the intake on here. I wanna make sure everything runs and works before I start really taking into the engine and doing modifications. So that's down the road. So I just need to get it off and weld it up. Yeah, so overall I'm pretty happy. It's just kicked my ass, man. It fought me the whole way. But it's done, I'm happy. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go ahead and put the front end back on and see what it actually looks like. Hopefully it looks better than this, but I'm a little concerned about the bottom pan that rolls around, how that's gonna look. Might have to paint that black and make it disappear. But I don't know, we'll see. So I'm gonna wrap this video up here. If you like the video, subscribe and leave a comment, and I'll see you on the next one.